Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mabimpressions. Today we're going to be talking about Devil Spire. This is a retro looking game with some very familiar roguelike mechanics. Is this 3D dungeon crawler worth playing? Let's talk about it. Devil Spire was developed by Lucas Perdomo, Lucas Bresson, and Itherosumi, who also published it. This is a full release game, not in early access. It released on February 2nd, 2022, and it's currently going for $9.99 US. I played it on Steam PC. If I had to tag the game with a couple of genres to sum it up, it would be RPG, dungeon crawler, roguelite, and dark fantasy. There isn't much of a story here to latch onto. Instead, the settings and environments are what will draw you in here. There's a massive stone tower that appeared out of nowhere. Many adventurers are drawn to it by legends of fortune and salvation. Now, if you're interested in any of the footage for today's episode, there's links in the description to my Let's Play YouTube channel and Twitch where we live stream it all. I would love to see you guys there. The majority of the game, you'll be exploring the tower's many floors, combating the terrible creatures within, and doing a lot of character and item management. Let's start with the dungeon crawling aspect. First of all, there are many different endings in the game. At the start, you can only choose a couple of scenarios, all with different lengths and difficulty. In these permadeath runs, you'll acquire souls, which are often used to unlock more types of modes and more endings. On these floors, you'll walk freely without grid-based restrictions. The goal is to simply survive and get to the exit. There's a lot of things within these floors that can hinder or help you depending on how adventurous you feel like being. Enemies are of course aplenty. They have multiple attacks, look terrifying, and provide you with loot and experience points. Traps can be as simple as walking on spikes or floor triggers that spew poison in your face. There's treasure chests, shops, and environmental hazards like explosive barrels you can kick around or shoot with ranged weapons. Speaking of weapons, there's a good amount here to choose from for combat. There's one-handed swords, shields, bows, guns, and way more. There's around 48 spells that you can find and a bunch of equipment enchantments. Combat is very fast-paced and definitely strategic. It's all real-time, and the game holds no hands after the first tutorial section. Enemies will destroy you and your equipment if you're not careful. You can swing your weapons, shoot from afar, and blast with magic, and kick enemies and lure them into traps. You're also able to run and dodge. Before a run, you'll go into character creation. Here you can change your looks, which consist of a couple of different portraits and races. These don't have any gameplay impact, but you can set your starting stats here. Stat management is a huge part of the game. You'll often find yourself increasing them via leveling up, or even raising and lowering them via items that you find. Strength increases damage, carry weights. Intelligence helps with spell casting like power, vitality, max HP, and agility for increasing to speed, weapon speed, spell casting, and movement. It's also vital for your build that you manage these correctly. Another huge gameplay is inventory management. By that I mean items, equipment, and combining. The game has a durability system. For every attack you make and hit you take, your weapons and armor will degrade. Durability hits 0 and it breaks forever. You can, however, repair them with enchantments and new abilities and buffs via combining items on them. There's the usual potions and special consumables, which can change the tide at a moment's notice by healing and curing different ailments, but combining junk is how you master the dungeon. Sometimes when items break or from loot, you can find items the game considers junk: fool's gold, scrap, sticky goo, etc. You have to experiment and combine them in order to make items essential for survival. For example, you can make repair kits for weapon and armor durability, healing consumables, stat buffs for equipment, and even spell upgrades that increase power and even lessen MP cost. Alright, moving over to the presentation. How's the graphics and design? This is a wonderfully looking retro 3D dungeon crawler. Monsters look great, the bosses are gigantic. They did a good job making it look old school, but it is still very smooth to play. The UI in the menus can be overwhelming at first, but all of those numbers and stats will become your best friend as you play. Unfortunately, the game's sounds and music didn't stand out here for me, but that's not to the detriment of the game. I was primarily focused on combat, looting, and surviving. Nothing bad to say about that. Okay, so time for the pros and cons. Let's start with what did I like and what's the game's main selling points. I think for the price, they packed just enough meaningful content here. Lots of replayability with the different endings. You're always finding new loot, equipment, and spells are nice to experiment with. Keyboard and mouse is definitely the optimal way to go for efficiency, but I also played primarily with an Xbox controller and had no problems at all. Just a little bit slower in the menus. For what would I change and dislike? Well, not much. As a matter of fact, all of the gripes I did have going in were mostly fixed by already in 2 pre-launch patches. I guess they saw and got some feedback from early players such as myself. I had issues with not knowing your experience. They added a visual counter for that. Equipment broke way too soon. You can now combine any weapons together to help with that. And things are just feeling a little more balanced. So it looks like they are, they're noticing what's going on and they're taking the feedback and they're updating it. So really nice on them. Okay, time for my final thoughts and verdict. Devil Spire is a well-made retro-looking 3D dungeon crawler. It looks old school, but it plays really well. Tons of replayability, different scenarios, endings to experience. Stats and equipment management is plentiful here for sure. It's a great game for the price. I think you'll definitely get your money's worth here if you're into the dark fantasy roguelite genre. This gets a 75% recommendation. Go pick it up. Alright guys, gonna end it here. If you enjoy, leave a like, it helps a lot. If you haven't already subscribed for daily videos, remember, head on over to my Let's Play channel if you want to see all the footage, and come by Twitch where all of it was originally streamed, and I'll be streaming almost daily, so come on by. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.